Imagine taking a break from your regular life and going on vacation to a peaceful island in the woods with your family. You're enjoying your day when strange things start happening. Wildlife around you started to act weirdly as if they sensed something terrible. You are on the beach and out of nowhere there is a gigantic oil tanker crashing on the beach in front of you. Escaping a life-threatening disaster, as you are trying to make sense of this chaos, suddenly there's a blackout, all your devices stop working and drones are dropping death threats all over the island. Now, you're stuck on this island with no way to communicate. What on earth is happening? To find out, stay with me until the end, and we'll unveil the mysteries of this psychological thriller in this video. But before we jump into the movie, if you're new here, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Your small gesture will encourage us to make videos like this for you regularly. Anyways, the movie starts with the Sanford family as they decide to take a vacation from the bustling city of New York. They found a cozy house named Leave the World Behind. It is located in a remote place on Long Island next to a mysterious forest. The house was pretty, but there was a locked cabinet with secrets inside. As the family settled in, Mom, Amanda, went to the town for groceries. In town, she noticed a man named Danny loading up his truck with lots of stuff. Back at the house, the family went to the beach, and Rose, the daughter, saw a big ship far away. At first, they didn't worry, but soon the ship started coming closer, making everyone panic. It is actually an oil tanker and eventually, it crashed on the beach. Now, the interesting part of this incident is the name of the oil tanker. It was called the White Lion. Interestingly, it serves as an ominous foreshadowing of impending events, with its symbolic connection to the well-being of Mother Earth. Anyways, luckily, no one got hurt in this incident and the beach had to close for the day. When the family got home, they found out the Wi-Fi wasn't working, and their phones and TV had no service. Later, they heard a strange noise, and someone knocked on their door. It was George and his daughter Ruth, the real owners of the house. They couldn't use phones because of a power blackout and needed a place to stay. Amanda didn't trust them, but George offered money and promised to sleep in the basement. He showed he had the keys to the locked cabinet and gave them $1,000. Amanda was still worried, but Clay convinced her to give George and Ruth a chance. As George shared the contents of the locked alcohol cabinet with the Sanford family, he explained that the man stockpiling supplies in the market was once a contractor and lives nearby to this house. He added that his wife was away, traveling for his job. Amanda, feeling a surge of suspicion, interrupted, demanding identification. To her dismay, George had left his wallet and another coat, forgotten at the theater in the midst of the chaos caused by the ship's sudden crash. Amanda's suspension intensified as George, who claimed ignorance about the blackout, now seemed to have a missing piece in his story. The tension reached its peak when an alarm rang out, triggered by Ruth turning on the television. It turned out to be a national emergency had been declared. So, Amanda, having no other choice, reluctantly allowed George and Ruth to stay in the house. As the duo headed to the basement room, the mystery deepened. It turned out that George knew something important, a secret shared by one of his clients who had warned him about something dangerous about to happen. The following morning, Amanda found out 4 emergency messages on her phone. 2 spoke of the blackout, 1 hinted at hackers, and the last consisted of random symbols. Anxious, she woke Clay to show him the messages. But surprisingly, all of them vanished before his eyes. Clay really wanted to find out what was happening, so he decided to drive to town for a newspaper. But, it turns out that the GPS in his car wasn't working, and he got a bit lost. Later, a reporter on the radio said there was a cyber attack causing big problems in the south, messing up animal migration patterns. Amid all the confusion, Clay saw a lady asking for help on the side of the road. But the problem is, she spoke only Spanish. Unable to help her, Clay decided to keep driving away from her. Then, a strange thing happened. A drone showed up with red smoke. But turns out, the smoke was actually red leaflets. As it falls, we see something written on it in Arabic. At the same time, George went to check on the neighbors. He decided to keep his gun with him, just in case it needed. But the neighbor's place felt eerily empty. Also, when George tried to use their satellite phone, it didn't work, suggesting that all American satellites were down. As George was leaving, he stumbled upon a trail of scattered objects that led him to the beach. To his horror, he found an expensive watch and even a whole arm, revealing the aftermath of a crashed plane. The discovery continued as he encountered the body of a pilot. With another plane approaching, George hastily sought shelter in the house, narrowly avoiding another disaster. Meanwhile, Rose's frustration grew as none of the devices worked, depriving her of the final episode of Friends. Exploring outside, she encountered a backyard filled with an unusual number of deer. Eager for adventure, she persuaded her brother, Archie, to join her in exploring the forest. On their return, Archie got bitten by an unknown bug, and Rose spotted more strange deer while noticing birds flying away, which makes no sense. The scene cuts to George, as he came back terrified. He opened up to Amanda and shared the beach incident. Suddenly a loud earth-shattering explosions in the distance and an ear-splitting screech disrupted their conversation. Horrified, Amanda rushed into the woods to locate her children, but the unbearable noise forced her to stop. Luckily, the noise stops after a few seconds, allowing them to return to the house. Amanda recalled Danny's unusual purchases, suspecting he probably knew something. Meanwhile, Clay's returned with an Arabic leaflet, which translates death to America. Being afraid, Amanda and Clay decided to escape this dreadful place to a relative's house in New Jersey. But on the road, they encountered sirens and found the way blocked by self-driving cars. Narrowly escaping collisions, they witnessed chaos extending into the city. So they decided to return to the house. In the house, in a surprising turn of event, George confessed to Amanda that a Pentagon-connected client had warned him of a looming threat. And the client's money-moving instructions indicated a significant event was imminent. Seeking peace from the unsettling conversations, Amanda and George decided to embrace a moment of intimacy with a hug. However, their respite was short-lived as the piercing screech returned, plunging the surroundings into darkness. The next day had more problems. Rose was gone, and Archie woke up sick, puking blood. And guess what? His teeth were falling out. George thought it was because of a bug bite, so he said he'd take Clay and Archie to Danny for medicine. At the same time, Amanda and Ruth went into the woods to find Rose. They searched a lot, failed to locate Rose. They took a break at a shed, started arguing, but then heard a weird noise outside. Amanda checked and found bike tracks. Soon after, she found Ruth surrounded by a large group of deers. They somehow managed to scare the group away by yelling at them. Anyways, at Danny's place, tension escalated when Danny showed up with his gun. Referencing a similar past incident in Cuba, Danny concludes the link of radiation to Archie's illness. Prioritizing his family, Danny initially refused aid to the Sanford family. So, a standoff unfolded, with George pointing his gun to Danny. After a heated exchange, Danny finally agrees to share the medicine in exchange for payment. While Archie received treatment, Danny disclosed vital details. The attack was orchestrated by the Koreans. But Clay disagrees, offering the leaflet as Iranian evidence. So, Danny revealed his contact's intel about East Asian leaflets dropped in San Diego before the blackout. He proposed a theory of collaboration among U.S. enemies to destabilize the country, outlining a three-stage strategy: isolation, synchronized chaos, and eventual citizens' uprising. The film also depicts animals reacting to the environmental disaster, highlighting the impact on the ecosystem because of this synchronized attack. Clay and George, convinced by Danny's information, decided to stick together and head to the neighbor's bunker for safety. In the woods, Amanda and Ruth continued the search for Rose, only to witness the horrifying sight of Manhattan in flames, explosions, and gunfire echoing across the city. Simultaneously, it was revealed that Rose had found refuge in the neighbor's house, discovering a stocked emergency bunker. The emergency alert system signaled the severity of the situation, urging residents to seek shelter due to attacks on major U.S. cities. Undeterred, Rose, surrounded by the comforts of the emergency bunker, seized the opportunity to finally watch the last episode of Friends. And boom, just like that, the movie ends. It leaves you hanging, just like the character's fate. Inside the shelter, it's safe, but outside, it's a whole different story. The movie makes you think, what do the events really mean, and what's gonna happen to these characters? It throws questions at you without handing out easy answers. You gotta figure it out, sparking discussions and different takes.